Ambassador Elena Vasquez walked slowly toward the huge crystal machine that sent messages across space. Her hands were steady even though her heart was beating fast. The war room on the human ship called Endeavor was quiet. All the important people from Earth were watching her. "This is Ambassador Vasquez from the Terran Federation," she said into the machine. "Starting right now, humans are stopping all talks with the Galactic Council. We are ending all peace deals, trade agreements, and ways of talking to you. Earth does not follow galactic laws anymore." The message traveled through space very fast. In just a few hours, every alien in the galaxy heard it. On the big council station near Nexus Prime, the alien leaders looked at their screens and could not believe what they heard. High Counselor Vextar was a tall, lizard-like creature from the Saurian people. He was the first one to speak. "This must be a joke from the humans. They cannot just leave us like this." But then something scary happened. Complete silence. Every time the aliens tried to call human colonies, trade stations, or meeting places, nobody answered. The humans had disappeared from space society like they never existed at all. 3 days went by with no word from humans anywhere. Then the bad news started coming in from all over the galaxy. Human trade ships that were supposed to deliver goods to alien worlds never showed up. Mining operations where humans and aliens worked together went dark. The most frightening thing was that human military bases that kept peace in dangerous areas started packing up and leaving without telling anyone why. Admiral Marcus Steele stood looking out the window of his command ship. He watched the humans leave Firebase Kepler. This base had protected 3 different alien species from space pirates for more than 10 years. Now those aliens would have to protect themselves. "Sir," said Communications Officer Beth Harrison, "we are getting desperate messages from the Centauri settlements. They are begging us to change our minds." "Do not answer them," Steele said in a cold voice. "We are done taking care of the galaxy's problems." On the council station, the alien leaders were having emergency meetings day and night. They could not understand what was happening. For hundreds of years, humans had been reliable partners. They always showed up when needed. They always kept their promises. Now they were gone without any explanation. Counselor Thexara was a beautiful water creature from the Delphi worlds. She showed holographic pictures of trade routes to the worried alien leaders. The pictures showed a terrible truth. Humans controlled the paths for moving goods between 17% of all worlds in the galaxy, she told the crowded meeting room. "Without them, our trade system is falling apart. We might face complete economic disaster in just a few months." But money problems were just the beginning of their troubles. In the wild frontier areas of space, where human peacekeeping forces had kept order, piracy exploded overnight. The Ravager clans had been hiding from human patrol ships for years. Now they came out to attack defenseless worlds. Captain Nix of the Altarian Defense Corps got a desperate call for help from the mining world of Kepler 442b. "Captain, the Ravagers have destroyed our space defenses. They want money we do not have. Where are the humans? They promised to protect us." Nix looked at his empty space map where human ships should have been patrolling. "I do not know," he said sadly. "I do not know." The fear grew worse when alien scientists discovered another horrible truth. For 300 years, human research centers had been quietly solving problems all over the galaxy. Medical discoveries, farming improvements, planet-building technologies. Much of it came from human intelligence. Dr. Kyla Zenth was the Council's main science advisor. She presented her findings to the increasingly scared assembly. Her tentacles moved nervously as she spoke. "The humans were not just part of our civilization," she explained. "They were holding it together. They solved problems we did not even know we had. The truth hit the aliens like a meteor crashing into a planet. The galaxy needed humanity much more than humanity needed the galaxy." Back on Earth, President Catherine Wells sat in her office reading reports from human colonies across space. Unlike the chaos happening in alien territories, human settlements were doing very well. Without having to help the galaxy, Earth could finally focus on taking care of its own people. "People without jobs are at the lowest number in history," reported Economic Advisor James Park. "Our military can finally explore new places instead of acting like space police. Our scientists are making great discoveries without having to share them with species that gave us nothing in return." Wells nodded seriously. "How long until the aliens break down completely?" "Based on what we can predict, maybe 6 months before their economy completely collapses. Maybe even less time than that." Meanwhile, human ships were moving to the edges of their territory. They set up new defenses and started building things the aliens had never seen before. The message was clear. Humans were not planning to come back. In the deepest parts of human space, secret projects were beginning. Projects that would change everything. But the aliens did not know about these yet. They were too busy trying to survive without human help. The Galactic Council had ruled over hundreds of species for thousands of years. They had always thought they were the most important beings in the galaxy. They had treated humans like younger brothers who needed guidance. Now they were learning the truth. Dr. Patricia Gomez was working on a secret project called Renaissance. She looked at holographic displays showing human expansion into areas of space that had never been explored before. "We have found 17 planets that could support human life beyond the galaxy's main arm," she reported to a secret council. "Without alien oversight, we can claim all of them." President Wells studied the information with cold satisfaction. "How long until our new colonies can take care of themselves?" 18 months, ma'am. By then, we will have our own independent civilization. We will not need the galactic community at all." The meaning was clear and frightening. Humanity was not planning to return to work 2 weeks after what alien news networks called the Great Silence. The first major problem started showing up across the galaxy. The Xerion Trade Consortium had depended heavily on human transport networks for moving goods between worlds. When human cargo ships stopped showing up, their supply chains collapsed overnight. Entire star systems faced shortages of food, medicine, and other essential items that people needed to survive. On the council station, emergency meetings continued around the clock. The alien leaders were getting more worried every day. Counselor Thexara projected holographic trade charts that painted a very dark picture of what was happening. 17% of all galactic commerce moved through paths controlled by humans, she announced to the packed meeting chamber. Their withdrawal has created a chain reaction of failures. We are looking at economic collapse within months if this continues. The aliens had never realized how much they depended on human reliability. Human ships always arrived on time. Human traders always kept their word. Human logistics made everything work smoothly. Without them, the galaxy's trade system was falling apart like a house of cards. But the economic crisis was only the beginning of much worse problems. In the lawless frontier sectors of space, where human peacekeeping forces had kept order for decades, piracy exploded overnight. The Ravager clans had been held back by just the presence of human patrol ships. They had been afraid to attack because they knew humans would hunt them down. Now those ships were gone, Captain. Nix of the Altarian Defense Corps received a desperate distress call from the mining world of Kepler 442b. The voice on the radio was full of panic and fear. "Captain, the Ravagers have overrun our orbital defenses. They are demanding tribute money we cannot pay. Our people are dying. Where are the humans? They promised to protect us from exactly this kind of attack." Nick stared at his sector map where human patrol ships should have been moving back and forth like guards. Now the map showed empty space. "I do not know," he admitted, feeling helpless. "I honestly do not know where they went." The situation got worse every day. Without human protection, small colonies became easy targets for pirates, raiders, and other criminals who had been hiding in the dark corners of space. Worlds that had been safe for generations suddenly found themselves under attack. The desperation grew even more when alien scientists realized another terrifying truth. For 3 centuries, human research facilities had been quietly solving problems across the galaxy that other species could not figure out. Medical breakthroughs that saved millions of lives, agricultural innovations that fed entire worlds, terraforming technologies that made dead planets livable. Much of it had come from human genius and hard work. Dr. Kayla Zenth, the Council's chief science advisor, presented her findings to an increasingly panicked assembly. Her tentacles writhed with anxiety as she spoke to the worried alien leaders. "The humans were not just participants in our civilization," she explained, her voice shaking. "They were its backbone. They were the foundation that everything else was built on. They solved problems we did not even know we had. They fixed things before they broke. They made everything work better." The realization hit the alien leaders like a massive meteor striking their homeworlds. The galaxy needed humanity far more than humanity had ever needed the galaxy. Examples started pouring in from every corner of known space. The Altarian agricultural worlds discovered that their soil treatment programs had been developed by human scientists. The crystalline hegemony's mining operations used human-designed equipment that no one else knew how to repair. The Delphi medical centers relied on human research for treating diseases that affected multiple species. Even worse, many alien species had become so dependent on human solutions that they had stopped developing their own technologies. Why reinvent something when humans had already perfected it? Now they were paying the price for their laziness and overconfidence. Trade routes that had operated smoothly for centuries began to break down. Without human cargo ships following precise schedules, other species could not coordinate their deliveries. Goods piled up at some ports while other worlds faced dangerous shortages. The Xerian Trade Consortium, which had been one of the most powerful economic forces in the galaxy, declared bankruptcy within a month. Their collapse sent shockwaves through the financial systems of dozens of worlds. Banks failed. Currencies became worthless. Entire planetary economies crumbled. On the industrial world of Mechanicus Prime, food riots broke out when supply ships failed to arrive. The planet could build amazing machines and vehicles, but it could not grow enough food to feed its population. They had always traded manufactured goods for agricultural products delivered by human transport networks. Now their people were starving. Governor Tilexandra of Mechanicus Prime sent desperate messages to anyone who would listen. We need food shipments immediately. Our people have not eaten properly in days. The human cargo ships were supposed to arrive last week. Where are they? Please, anyone who receives this message, we are willing to pay any price for food deliveries. But there was no one to answer. Other species were facing their own crises and had no resources to spare. The military situation became equally desperate. Many worlds had reduced their own defense forces over the years, relying on human peacekeepers to maintain order in their sectors. These planets had thought they were being smart by saving money on military expenses. Now they were completely helpless against raiders and pirates. The hegemony worlds, once proud and powerful, found themselves under constant attack. Their crystalline cities, which had been symbols of beauty and advancement, became targets for raiders who knew the inhabitants could not defend themselves properly. Admiral Zixtar of the Hegemony Defense Force sent a coded transmission to his government leaders. Our fleet is spread too thin. We have 12 worlds under attack simultaneously. Without human backup, we cannot protect them all. We need to consider abandoning the outer colonies and falling back to our core systems. The message was clear. The galaxy's military balance had completely collapsed without human peacekeeping forces. Emergency sessions at the council station became more frantic every day. Representatives who had once debated policy in calm, measured tones now shouted at each other in desperation and fear. Some blamed the humans for abandoning their responsibilities. Others blamed their own governments for taking human help for granted. High Counselor Vextar tried to maintain order, but even his authority was crumbling. We must find a solution, he declared to the chaotic assembly. Send envoys to human space immediately. Offer them concessions. Offer them anything they want. We cannot survive without them. But deep down, all the alien leaders knew a terrible truth. They had treated humans as junior partners for centuries. They had looked down on human culture and technology. They had accepted human help while giving very little in return. Now they were learning what happened when you took your foundation for granted. The galaxy was falling apart, and humanity was nowhere to be found. 1 month after the crisis began, the Galactic Council faced its darkest hour in thousands of years. 3 major trade routes had collapsed completely. The Xerian Consortium bankruptcy had triggered a domino effect that brought down 12 other major economic powers. Without human protection, 47 worlds had fallen to various threats including pirates, warlords, and simple anarchy. High Counselor Vextar stood before the emergency assembly. His usually proud bearing was diminished by desperation and fear. The great reptilian leader who had once commanded respect from hundreds of species now looked tired and defeated. We must swallow our pride, he declared to the few dozen delegates who remained. Many civilizations had already abandoned the council and retreated to their home systems. Send envoys to Earth immediately. Offer them whatever they want. Give them anything they ask for. The first diplomatic mission departed within hours. Ambassador Lixandra of the Crystalline Hegemony led a flotilla of the council's finest ships toward the Sol system. The ships were loaded with gifts, treasures, and data banks containing the most valuable knowledge from across the galaxy. They carried offers that would have been unthinkable just months before. Trade monopolies that would make humans incredibly wealthy, territorial expansion rights to entire star systems, even seats on the inner council itself, positions that had never been offered to humans before. The alien fleet traveled for days through space, hope growing stronger as they approached human territory. Ambassador Lixandra rehearsed her speeches, preparing arguments about mutual benefit and galactic stability. She was confident that reasonable beings could reach an agreement. They never made it past the asteroid belt around Earth's solar system. Admiral Rachel Torres commanded the human defense grid from Mars Station. She watched the alien fleet approach on her tactical display screens. The ships were broadcasting peaceful intentions, but her orders were crystal clear. "Unidentified vessels, you are entering restricted space," she announced over open communications. "Turn back immediately or be fired upon. This is your only warning." "Admiral Torres," came Lixandra's desperate transmission. "We must speak with your leadership. The galaxy is dying without you. Billions of innocent people are suffering because of this separation. The galaxy managed just fine for millions of years before we arrived." Torres replied coldly, without any emotion in her voice. "It can figure itself out again. You have 10 minutes to clear our system before we consider you hostile invaders." The alien ships retreated quickly, but not before broadcasting one final desperate message across all frequencies where humans might hear it. "Please, billions of innocents are suffering. What do you want from us? Name any price and we will pay it." The response was complete silence. Not a single human voice answered their pleas. Back on Earth, President Catherine Wells sat in the Oval Office reading reports from across human space. The contrast was striking and obvious. Unlike the chaos engulfing alien territories, human colonies were thriving like never before. "The unemployment rate is at historic lows," reported Economic Advisor James Park. "Our military can finally focus on exploration and discovery instead of playing galactic police. Our scientists are making incredible breakthroughs without having to share research with species that contributed nothing to the work." Wells nodded grimly as she reviewed the data. Everything showed that humanity was better off alone. "How long until the alien civilizations break completely?" "Based on current projections, maybe 6 months before total economic collapse," Park answered. "Maybe less if the military situations continue to deteriorate. Meanwhile, hidden monitoring stations scattered throughout human space were detecting something that would have terrified the aliens even more if they had known about it. Humanity was not sitting idle during their isolation. They were not sulking or waiting for aliens to apologize. Long-range sensors picked up massive construction projects in the Outer Rim territories where humans had never built before. Shipyards were working at unprecedented capacity, building vessels larger and more advanced than anything seen during the galactic period. Research facilities were conducting projects on a scale never before attempted. Dr. Patricia Gomez, director of the classified Project Renaissance, stood before a holographic display showing humanity's expansion into previously unexplored sectors of space. The images showed construction that would have impressed even the most advanced alien civilizations. "We have identified 17 potentially habitable worlds beyond the galactic arm," she reported to the Secret Council of Human Leaders. "Without alien oversight and regulations, we can claim them all. We can build whatever we want, however we want." President Wells studied the data with cold satisfaction. The progress was incredible. "How long until our new colonies are completely self-sufficient?" 18 months, Madam President. By then, we will have our own independent civilization that spans multiple star systems. We will not need the galactic community at all. In fact, we will be superior to it in every way." The implications were staggering and terrifying from an alien perspective. Humanity was not planning to return to the galactic fold. They were preparing to transcend it entirely. They were building something bigger and better than what they had left behind. On the failing council station, emergency alarms wailed constantly as another star system went dark or fell to chaos. The hegemony worlds, once proud and self-sufficient, now faced extinction without the trade networks and protection that humanity had provided for centuries. Reports flooded in from across known space, each one worse than the last. The Altarian Defense Corps had lost contact with half their colonies. The Delphi medical centers were running out of supplies needed to treat patients. The Saurian military was fighting a losing battle against raiders on 12 different fronts. High Counselor Vextar, his once imperious demeanor completely broken by desperation, made a final desperate transmission toward human space. His voice cracked with emotion as he spoke. Humans of Earth, we understand now. We took you for granted for too long. We treated you as junior partners when you were our foundation. We accept full responsibility for our mistakes. Name your price, make any demand, and we will pay it. Just please do not let billions of innocent beings die because of our pride and stupidity. The response came not from Earth, but from Admiral Steele aboard the human ship Endeavor, now patrolling the edges of human space like a guard dog protecting its territory. Counselor Vextar, you still do not understand what this is about. Steele's voice was calm but absolutely final. This is not about price or payment or trade deals. This is about respect. This is about being treated as equals instead of servants, and that, counselor, cannot be bought with money or promises. Respect must be earned, and you had 3 centuries to earn it. You failed. The transmission ended, leaving the aliens in stunned silence. They finally understood that this was not a negotiation. This was not a business deal gone wrong. This was a complete rejection of everything the galactic community represented. Humanity had moved on, and they were not coming back. 3 months after humanity's withdrawal from galactic society, the Galactic Council faced complete dissolution. The once mighty organization that had governed hundreds of species for thousands of years was crumbling, like ancient ruins. The Xerian Trade Consortium's collapse had triggered a domino effect that destroyed 12 other major economic powers. Banks failed across entire sectors of space. Currencies became worthless paper. Trade agreements that had taken centuries to negotiate were abandoned as worthless documents. Without human protection, 47 worlds had fallen to various threats. Some were conquered by pirates and raiders. Others descended into civil wars as different groups fought for scarce resources. A few simply fell into anarchy as their governments collapsed under the pressure. The council chamber itself told the story of their decline. This massive structure had once housed representatives from over 200 species. Delegates had debated the future of civilization in halls that echoed with the voices of dozens of different alien languages. Now fewer than 50 representatives remained, scattered across the vast empty chamber like survivors on a sinking ship. Counselor Thexara, now serving as emergency coordinator, struggled to maintain order as desperate reports flooded in from across known space. Her aquatic features showed visible stress as she read each new disaster report to the nearly empty assembly. The Altarian system has declared martial law, she announced, her voice echoing in the mostly empty chamber. Their government has suspended all civil rights to deal with food riots and pirate attacks. The Delphi colonies are experiencing mass starvation because supply ships cannot get through raider blockades. She paused, her tentacles trembling with distress before continuing with the worst news yet. The Saurian Confederacy, our founding member, and one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy, is requesting immediate human intervention to prevent a complete civil war. Their outer colonies have declared independence and are fighting government forces. The irony was bitter and obvious to everyone present. The same council that had often criticized human methods and questioned human decisions was now begging for human intervention to save them from total destruction. Many civilizations had simply given up on the galactic community entirely. They packed up their embassies, recalled their diplomats, and retreated to their home systems. Their message was clear. If the galaxy was going to fall apart, they would focus on protecting their own people instead of trying to save everyone else. Meanwhile, hidden monitoring stations scattered throughout human space were detecting something that would have terrified the remaining aliens even more if they had known about it. Humanity was not sitting idle during their period of isolation. They were certainly not waiting for the galaxy to come begging for their return. Long-range sensors picked up massive construction projects in the outer rim territories beyond normal galactic boundaries. Shipyards were working at capacity never seen before, building vessels that were larger and more advanced than anything created. During the centuries of galactic cooperation, research facilities were conducting experiments on a scale that dwarfed the combined scientific efforts of all remaining council species put together. The humans were not just maintaining their civilization during isolation, they were advancing it at an incredible pace. Dr. Patricia Gomez, director of the classified project Renaissance, stood before a holographic display showing humanity's secret expansion into previously unexplored sectors of space. The scope of the construction was breathtaking. and would have amazed even the most advanced alien. Engineers, we have identified 17 potentially habitable worlds beyond the galactic arm. She reported to the Secret Council that now governed humanity's future. Without alien oversight, regulations, or interference, we can claim all of them. We can terraform them according to human needs instead of compromising with alien requirements. President Wells studied the data with cold satisfaction. The progress reports showed achievements that surpassed anything humanity had accomplished while working within the galactic system. How long until our new colonies are completely self-sufficient and independent? 18 months, Madam President. By then, we will have our own civilization that spans multiple galaxy arms. We will not need the galactic community at all. In fact, our technology and organization will be superior to anything they ever achieved. The implications were staggering from any perspective. Humanity was not planning to return to the galactic fold as partners or even as leaders. They were preparing to transcend the entire galactic civilization and build something completely new and independent. On the failing council station, emergency klaxons wailed constantly as another star system went dark or fell into chaos. The automated systems that had once managed a thriving interstellar community now mainly broadcast distress signals and evacuation orders. The hegemony worlds, once among the most proud and self-sufficient civilizations in the galaxy, now faced complete extinction. Without the trade networks and military protection that humanity had provided, their crystal cities were being systematically destroyed by raiders who faced no opposition. Emergency transmissions from across their territory painted a picture of total collapse. This is Crystal City 7. We are under attack by unknown raiders. Our defenses have failed. We are requesting immediate evacuation assistance. Repeat, we need help now. Similar calls came from dozens of worlds every day, but there was no one left to answer them. The few remaining council forces were spread impossibly thin, trying to protect too many places with too few ships and soldiers. Reports continued flooding in from every corner of former council space, each one documenting another step toward complete civilizational collapse. The Altarian Defense Corps had lost contact with over half their colonies. The Delphi medical centers were closing down as they ran out of supplies and medicines that had been produced in human facilities. The Saurian military, once considered the most powerful force in the galaxy after humans, was fighting desperate battles against raiders and rebels on 15 different fronts simultaneously. Their requests for assistance went unanswered because everyone else was fighting their own losing battles. High Counselor Vextar, his once mighty presence now reduced to a shadow of former authority, made increasingly desperate attempts to contact human leadership. His transmissions grew more humble and pleading with each attempt. Humans of Earth and the colonies, we acknowledge our complete failure as leaders of this galaxy. We confess that we never understood your true value to our civilization. We are prepared to offer you complete control of the Council, unlimited territorial rights, and total authority over galactic law. Please do not abandon us to this chaos. The response came not from Earth's government, but from Admiral Steele aboard the human exploration vessel Endeavor, now operating in the deep frontier beyond galactic boundaries. Counselor, you still do not comprehend what has happened here. Steele's transmission was calm but absolutely final. This is not about power or control or authority over the galaxy. We do not want to rule your failing civilization. We have moved beyond it entirely. You are asking us to come back and manage your collapse. But we are building our own future in places you have never even imagined. The transmission ended with words that sent chills through every alien who heard them. The age of galactic civilization is over. Counselor, the age of human independence has begun. 6 months after the Great Silence began, the old galactic order had completely collapsed into dust and history. The Galactic Council officially dissolved when its last 12 remaining members voted to abandon the station and return to their dying worlds. The great symbol of interstellar cooperation became a derelict monument floating in space, a reminder of failed diplomacy and broken promises. The once proud council station now drifted empty through space. Its halls that had once echoed with debates about the future of civilization were silent. Emergency lighting flickered in corridors where no one walked. The massive chamber where hundreds of species had once gathered to make decisions was dark and cold. But humanity's long silence was finally broken, not with words of reconciliation or offers of help, but with actions that announced a new chapter in galactic history. Admiral Elena Rodriguez, stood on the bridge of the newly christened Terra Invictus, leading humanity's first official expedition beyond the galactic rim into unexplored space. Behind her stretched a fleet that would have amazed the old council with its size and advanced technology. The fleet included colony ships that could carry entire populations to new worlds, mobile shipyards that could build space stations and defensive platforms anywhere they traveled, exploration vessels equipped with technology that surpassed anything the galaxy had ever seen. Most impressive of all were the massive terraforming ships that could turn dead worlds into gardens suitable for human life. All stations, "This is Admiral Rodriguez," she broadcast across the human fleet as they prepared to enter the unknown regions beyond the galaxy. "Today we begin the next chapter of human civilization, not as members of someone else's failing society, but as architects of our own destiny among the stars." The transformation of humanity during their 6 months of isolation was absolutely staggering. In half a year, they had accomplished more technological and social progress than they had managed in the previous century while working within the limitations of galactic politics and alien oversight. New technologies emerged from human research facilities almost daily. Medical advances that could extend human life far beyond what had been possible before. Engineering breakthroughs that allowed the construction of structures larger than entire alien cities. Most importantly, humanity had rediscovered something it had lost during centuries of galactic politics and compromise: complete unity of purpose and vision. President Wells now governed from New Geneva, a massive orbital platform that served as humanity's new capital. The structure was larger and more advanced than anything built during the galactic period. It represented humanity's commitment to their independent future among the stars. She received the final intelligence report about the state of former council space from Intelligence Director Michael Chang. The document painted a picture of total civilizational collapse across the territories that had once been proud members of the galactic community. 70% of former member species have reverted to isolated, primitive societies focused only on basic survival, Chang reported without emotion. They have abandoned most of their advanced technology and returned to simple agricultural or hunting lifestyles on their home worlds. The remaining 30% exist in various states of warfare, anarchy, or complete social breakdown. Pirates control most trade routes. Warlords have carved up former civilizations into tiny kingdoms. Disease and starvation are common because medical and food distribution systems have collapsed. Wells reviewed the data without any sign of sympathy or regret. The numbers represented the failure of an entire galactic civilization, but it was a failure they had brought upon themselves. "Any recent attempts to contact us?" "Daily attempts, Madam President. We receive hundreds of desperate pleas every day. Some are offering total surrender and begging to become human colonies. Others are proposing elaborate tribute systems where they would work as servants in exchange for basic protection and food. A few have even suggested enslaving their own populations to human oversight in exchange for help." "And our response to all of these communications?" "Complete silence, as you ordered. We do not acknowledge their existence in any way." But the most shocking development came from an unexpected source that revealed just how completely the galaxy had changed. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, leading humanity's deep space observation project, detected something extraordinary happening in the former council territories. "Madam President," she reported via quantum transmission from her research station, "we are detecting massive energy signatures from the old council territories. It appears that some surviving species are attempting to replicate human technology, social systems, and organizational methods." The irony was complete and perfect. The same alien civilizations that had looked down on human culture and innovation for centuries were now desperately trying to copy everything human in order to survive. From his private study aboard the exploration flagship Prometheus, former Ambassador David Chen watched long-range scans of the galactic core regions. He now served as Director of Human Colonial Affairs, overseeing the expansion into new territories that would belong entirely to humanity. The scans showed entire alien civilizations attempting to rebuild using human blueprints and human ideas. They were trying to copy human legal systems that had been scorned as primitive. They were attempting to recreate human economic models that had been dismissed as inefficient. They were even copying human architectural designs that had once been criticized as ugly and simple. "They are trying to become us," he observed to his aide while reviewing the intelligence reports. "They finally realized what made human civilization special and effective, but it is far too late. You cannot copy 3 centuries of human determination, innovation, and cultural development overnight." The final and most dramatic revelation came when President Wells authorized the release of humanity's new colonial charter. This document outlined humanity's plans for the next 1,000 years and beyond. The scope was breathtaking and would have terrified any aliens who understood its implications. The charter described humanity's expansion plans beyond the galactic rim. They would establish a purely human civilization spanning multiple galaxy arms. Most shocking of all, the document included a complete prohibition on any contact with the old galactic species or their descendants. "Let this be humanity's final lesson to the galaxy," President Wells announced in her closing address to the Colonial Council, as human ships prepared to leave the galaxy forever. "Respect is not something you can negotiate or trade for. True partnership requires equality and mutual appreciation. When you treat your foundation as disposable and your partners as servants, you discovered just how much you needed. What you threw away," she gestured toward the displays showing the collapsing galactic core regions where alien civilizations struggled to survive in the ruins of their former glory. "We gave them 3 centuries of our best efforts, our innovations, our protection, and our friendship. In return, we received condescension, disrespect, and the assumption that we would always be available to solve their problems. They treated us as junior partners when we were actually holding their entire civilization together. As the last human ships disappeared beyond the galactic rim into the vast darkness of unexplored space, they left behind a cosmos forever changed by their departure. The old galaxy would eventually stabilize in some form. Some species would survive, rebuild, and perhaps even thrive again in smaller, simpler ways. But they would do so knowing that somewhere in the vast darkness beyond their reach, humanity had moved on to create something greater and more magnificent than the galaxy had ever imagined possible. The galaxy had taught humanity a valuable lesson about the importance of independence and self-reliance. In return, humanity had taught the galaxy an even more valuable lesson about the consequences of taking your most important partners for granted. The age of human diplomacy and cooperation with alien civilizations was over forever. The age of human destiny among the infinite stars had begun, and there would be no turning back.